Alrighty, let's get started. It's warm out. It's like 60 degrees, 65, so I'm not freezing, which feels good. That feels good, because if I was, I wouldn't do anything about it. Alright, I've got a lot of boxes next to me for a lot of different things. I'm gonna hopefully crank out 5 videos, I think, maybe 5, and kind of get the whole week lined up. We'll see how that goes. But this was one of the ones that was requested by some of you. And so if you are not familiar with War of the Rings, it is probably one of the most widely appreciated or respected long two-player games. And I say that from the perspective of somebody who likes Star Wars Rebellion and likes Forbidden Stars and enjoys heavy two-player, experiences. That was a really pathetic one. That was useless overall to the larger unboxing. But yeah, no, so I just enjoy really heavy and strategy-dense two-player experiences. And I have been holding off. I have never played War of the Ring. I have never tabled it. I've never owned it. But my brother loves it a lot, and he has been recommending or entreating me to buy it. And so there was a sale, which involves also more games over here, on Game Nerds. Timestamp. And I decided to jump on it because I saw this for about 65 or 68, which is the lowest I think I'd ever seen it. So I decided to buy a second edition copy of it. And also, honestly, probably another reason I bought this was to prevent myself from ever wanting to buy the anniversary edition, which people have for sale, and it's like $1,500. And I don't ever want to ever pay that much for a singular game that's not like that much content and is worth it, but is just a special version of a game that looks maybe fancier. So this was a preventative measure purchase. I bought this so I didn't spend an additional $1,435. Which to me sounds like that's sensible money. I saved a sizable chunk of cash there. But yeah, War of the Ring, a look of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I feel like the reason why I say this in the same breath as, Star Wars Rebellion is that Star Wars Rebellion, usually I throw these away. But I think this is my first purchase ever specifically from Ares Games, which funnily enough shows Black Rose Wars, which is sitting right there. But I purchased Black Rose Wars, more directly-ish from Ludus Magnus Studios. Not the Ares. I do not have the Ares Games imprint version at all. So I've never actually seen really this, selection or catalog. So I'm a little bit distracted now, and I'm kind of off of the... So here's the thing. I have purchased Warriors of Middle-earth. That expansion is coming in on Monday, because it was also on sale. And then my brother has an extra copy of Lords, and so I am going to get that. So I should, once I'm able to get that from my brother and I get this expansion on Monday, have the whole deal. Oh, no, actually... There's a new expansion, Kings of Middle-earth. So I don't have that one. That's the one that I'll have to check out. That's the 3rd expansion. Ooh, you have Thranduil and Theoden and Denethor and Dane. So it's got all the kings. So I might want that if I enjoy this. But yeah, no, so I've never... Oh, Battlestar... Oh, that's Starship Battles. So that's not BSG, the Hidden Trader game. Yeah, so out of all of this, I may have to try and get the other expansion at some point. But the reason why I talk about this in relation to Star Wars Rebellion is because Star Wars Rebellion focuses on the Star Wars trilogy. And it allows players to go through that game or that narrative time in the world or in the galaxy. And it allows you to play through it and see how you end up changing the narrative or completing the narrative. And it feels really thematically exciting or satisfying as someone who appreciates that theme or that content and gets to insert themselves into that story. So I feel like this, even though it's designed by completely different people and published by a different publisher, does a little bit of the same, where it lets the players position themselves into the narrative of Lord of the Rings, and then they get to see how things play out. So we've got some tokens there, and I know that my unboxings are not going to be visually great for a while, just because I don't have a top-down cam or anything. But see, this also reminds me of Star Wars Rebellion, because you have two gigantic boards, which are going to make an even bigger board, which Rebellion does the same thing. And, I mean, this is massive. This is massive. This is going to be an absolute table hog. I mean, look at this. This is half of the board. This is just half of the board. And I guess you need that because part of this is like it's a dudes on a map game where you have, dudes on a map. Dudes on a map, I feel like, is the lamest description for a game, period. I don't know why that's so prevalent. I will say the one thing that I instantly don't love is that I'm not sure. Doesn't look like there's any baggies to hold this, except these are one-time disposable plastic bags. So I'm going to have to probably reorganize this. But like if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings world, a lot of these people are going to be, relatable to you. Like this is an elf. I don't know if it's an elf that I know. This looks like, I don't think the sword's supposed to be droopy, but it looks like someone. So here we go. There's somebody that I can recognize. There's Gandalf, which means maybe that's Gimli, which means, this is, let's see, this looks like a hobbit, but he's in full battle armor. So I'm going to assume that this is Pippin. I guess it could be Merry if he's in. No, it's got the tree on his chest, so it is Pippin from Minas Tirith. And then this looks like who's on the horse? Is that the Night King maybe? And then you've got, this looks like Eowyn, I think, maybe. We'll see. Who knows? Yeah, I will say that the features are hard to distinguish since I'm only going off of my knowledge of the movies. That looks like maybe Sam. But again, or no. This looks like Sam and Frodo, maybe. Anyways, these are characters. This is probably riveting at this point. But, hey, there's Gollum. So, yeah, this is a massive two-player extravaganza. It spans multiple hours. And people regard it as, like, just one of the absolutely best two-player experiences. Especially if you're into those, like, larger, heavier games. So it seems like it's got to be relatively simple in terms of component depth or complexity, because there's just a bunch of bags of the different factions, and then there's like 2 decks of cards, which may be split into more decks of cards, and then just dice. You got all this, status or other tokens too, but not a lot going on here in terms of like what's in the box, which doesn't necessarily surprise me. But I feel like Rebellion at least had a lot of stuff that seemed like it had more going on in terms of mechanical nuance. But I don't know, what kind of, do you go for heavy two-player games? Just out of curiosity. Like, I think that two-player games fit into 2 categories for me, which are the kind of more instantly accessible ones that you can get to the table and play pretty easily, card games or Dice Throne, or something that you can play and enjoy the strategy of, but don't have to think too hard to just like go about through it. Like that's kind of like Tapestry for me and my wife. You know, we can sit down and just kind of go through our moves and talk with each other. Oh, there's a Wraith or Nazgul on top of one of the 9 kings, ring wraiths. That's what they're called, ring wraiths on top of a Nazgul. And there's quite a few of those. And then you've also got, you got a lot of different like miniatures that show off the world there. Like these look like Riders of Rohan, or no, that looks like an elf actually. Yeah, that looks like elven armor. And then all these guys have different banners. So you got gray miniatures, red miniatures, blue miniatures, and then the like main characters, it looks like. Yeah. So no, I'm definitely excited about this. So this is a Minas Tirith because you have the white tree there, and that's Minas Tirith too. So wonder where Rohan is. Ah, here we go. Here's a Rider of Rohan. Riders of Rohan, ride for Minas Tirith. But, ooh, Gimli, son of Gloin. How do you guys open these? Sometimes I try to, like, push to, like, naturally force a break. But I feel like sometimes if you're not careful, that can bend the whole deck if you're not careful. I don't know. I also, honestly, I don't usually have a knife on me. I've only started using that for unboxings on camera. Previously, that was not like a thing of mine that I did. Definitely got some Gimli, Boromir, Legolas, Gandalf, Strider, who we all know as Aragorn, Peregrine Took, Meriadoc. So this is Merry and Pippin. Peregrine Took and Meriadoc Brandybuck. Gandalf, Aragorn, Gollum, the Ring Bearers, Saruman, Mouth of Sauron, Witch King. This is cool. This is like this is making me want to watch the movies, which I guess is a plus column win for this game, that if it is able to bring you back to the world of the game that it's based off of, bring you back to the world that the game is based on, then that's a win, Isildur's Bane. So yeah, I'm gonna put all this stuff back in here. Again, there's not a lot of components going on in here. It's just like 2 really big wells that you have all the pieces in, and then it's all your dice, and then it's all your cards. This is the piece that adds any complexity or nuance to the components and what's going on there, because I have no clue what any of these tokens mean. I will say I'm a little miffed that there's no baggie for these components. So I'm actually not going to punch this yet because I don't want to just set them loose. I'm going to use extra baggies that I've got in my house. So yeah, that annoys me a little bit. But for those of you that are curious just about the game in general, they got little reference charts. Always appreciate reference charts. Introduction. Let's do flavor text first. Everywhere he looked, he saw the signs of war. The misty mountains were crawling like anthills. Orcs were issuing out of 1,000 holes. Under the boughs of Mirkwood, there was a deadly strife of elves and men and fell beasts. The land of the Bjornings was aflame. A cloud was over Moria. Smoke rose on the borders of Lorien. Horsemen were galloping on the grass of Rohan. Wolves poured from Isengard. From the havens of Harad, ships of war put out to sea. And out of the east, men were moving endlessly. Swordsmen, spearmen, bowmen upon horses, chariots of chieftains and laden wains. All the power of the Dark Lord was in motion. Yeah, that brings me back right to the movies. So, welcome to the War of the Ring strategy board game. It's a game for 2 to 4 players based... I wonder what the 4 players is, though. I wonder if that's the same thing as Rebellion, where they're like, 4 players can play. But no, it's a 2-player game. The players take part in the struggle of the armies of the free peoples and the heroic companions of the Fellowship of the Ring against the dark host of the Shadow and the powerful minions of the Dark Lord. In a 2-player game, each opponent will lead either the free peoples or the armies of the Shadow, while in a 3 or 4-player game, the players will be organized into 2 teams, each team controlling either faction. Yeah, so it's a 2-player game. Good to know. In each game of the War of the Ring, the player controlling the Shadow attempts to use his superior military power to conquer Middle-earth. At his command gathers Sauron's legions of orcs and trolls, the forces of the wizard Saruman, and the hosts of the Southrons and Easterlings, set to bring darkness over the West. Against this onslaught, the Free People's player leads an allegiance of elves, dwarves, the riders of Rohan, men of Gondor, and men from the north, a fragile union trying to defend the last free realms of Middle-earth and to gain precious time to allow the success of the quest of the Ring-bearers. While armies clash, the 9 companions of the Fellowship of the Ring travel towards the very heart of the domains of the Dark Lord, Mount Doom, to destroy the One Ring and the Mountain of Fire. Controlled by the Free People's player, the Fellowship is his true chance of winning, as the military forces of the Shadow will be vanquished together with their master if the ring is undone. But the quest is fraught with ever greater perils as the darkness falls over Middle-earth. In the end, one side will emerge victorious if the Shadow conquers enough of its enemies, cities, and strongholds, or if the ring-bearers fail and are corrupted, darkness will triumph. If this Fellowship succeeds in destroying the ring before this happens, or the armies of the Free People succeed in turning the tide and conquering the enemy's strongholds themselves, the fall of the Dark Lord is at hand. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun one. This is one that a lot of people talk about. It's way up there on the top games. It's one of the absolute top war games, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the lid gas. Yeah, I think this is one that's exciting. I was kind of talking to my brother about this. This is the kind of game where you can buy it and it can sit on the shelf forever. I think I want to be really intentional about this and some of these other harder games to table and physically take the time to schedule a weekend or a day to make sure this gets played, along with a couple other games that I'm really wanting to table to justify having them, and also to re-enter that experience for the ones that I have that I've already played and that I like, just to enjoy them and get that time. So I think kind of being intentional about making a schedule for these and getting them filmed, that's what I'm excited about. So yeah, War of the Ring. Epic battles in the lands of Middle-earth. This game is published by Ares, but it's designed by Roberto di Meglio, Marco Maggi, and Francesco Nepitello. So very much excited to jump into this, and it looks simplistic from the components, but I think that it's going to be a really rich and fun gameplay. Satisfied, I'm ready, let's move on. I'm just kidding. I needed to do another timestamp. I only did like one this whole time. Timestamp. I also think that I may be moving away from the thumbnail part of my timestamp joke because I kind of want to clean up my thumbnail look. So I'm trying to work right now. I've reached out to an artist on Fiverr, and then I'm also working myself and experimenting on Canva, and I'm trying to find a better thumbnail, and I'm probably going to go back and retroactively update all of my thumbnails because I want like a clean look, and I don't think what I currently am using is there yet, so I'm probably going to do that soon. So I'm excited about that. But for those of you who are like, man, he didn't timestamp at all this video, timestamp. Now I can say bye. Bye.